A very good evening, everyone, and we welcome you to the last fireside chat on restoration, resilience, and India's pathways to a flourishing future. This session will explore the possibilities of a restoration led development model for India, the leadership and the collaborations that make it achievable, and the bold actions that can accelerate impact on the ground. I'm delighted to introduce our moderator, Ms. Shloka Nath, CEO of the India Climate Collaborative, a leader shaping in India's climate action ecosystem by mobilizing philanthropy, strengthening institutions, and forging ambitious partnership across sectors. She will be in conversation with Mr. Takayuki Hagiwara, representative of the UN Food and Agriculture Organization in India. Mr. Hagiwara brings deep global expertise across sustainable food systems, climate resilience, and rural development, and has spent much of his career helping countries build prosperity with restoring ecosystems. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Shloka Nath and Mr. Hagiwara to the stage. Thank you.
So, namaste. Thank you, Arsh, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you so much, Mr. Hagiwara, for being with us today. I was thinking about how to introduce this topic of this fireside chat, and I didn't want it to be a very technical session. I think that's something that we discussed with the TRI and WRI team, and we said, look, how do we really bring the meaning home of what it means to restore? And thank you to the minister, because I think you put it so beautifully in your speech earlier about the conceptual meaning of restoration, that it can't just be economic. We have to really think about how we're bringing values back in terms of what we're trying to do. And I think over the last 2 days, we've talked so much about different types of landscapes, whether they're coastal, farm, forest. How do we restore these landscapes? And I think what comes to mind is really that each of these landscapes has its own way of teaching us. And what I mean by that is that when a landscape is thriving, everything in it is in relationship. And I think that is also what the minister was trying to say, whether it's water and root, seed and soil, human hands and the ecosystems that hold them. And equally, when a landscape is not thriving, that means that the relationship is broken somewhere. And so restoration then is not a very technical project, or it's not only technical. It has to be about how we're restoring our relationships with ourselves, with nature, between people and land and those systems, between policy and practice, between global expertise and local wisdom. So in that spirit, I would love to begin with something personal. Could you tell us, and not an FAO example, but an example from your own life, and you can go as far back as you'd like, but when was your first experience of restoration and resilience, and what it meant to you, and what keeps you hopeful today?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much, Minister. It was great to see you here. Unfortunately, I do not understand the Hindi or your language, so I missed the majority of your part, but I'm sure that you eloquence proved that everybody really convinced what you're talking about. I got a master's degree in forest science in the Yale University back in 93. I was working first, after the bachelor, I was working in Japan, and then I was waiting the train, and suddenly I got struck by the idea, waiting the subway. I thought I have to plant trees. Somehow, I don't know why. So I was working in a small company. Then I got an idea that I have to plant tree. So I went to United States And I applied a couple of the university, and I got a degree from the Yale University. So that was my start. Then, when I was in the university in the forest science, I visited so many places, so many forests, so many degraded areas, including. Then, the New England, where the northeast of the United States. If you visit there, you will be astonished by the vast area of forest. And now it's almost winter, but October, November, you will see the beautiful trees, colorful trees in the New England. Can you imagine those New England forests are secondary forest? It's not the primary forest. When the Puritan, 1960 something, people start migrating the United States and settled that area, people cut trees. And I saw the video of Maine, Virginia, and all these places, they cut trees. And then they converted the forest into agricultural land. Then industry started picking up in the United States. And those people who cultivated agriculture moved out from agriculture and migrated to the coastal line of the United States and working for the industry. So if you go to inside the forest of the New England, you will see the pile of the stones making a small sort of the wall. It's a hedge of the barriers of the agricultural land. So this tells you that the nature has capacity to come back itself if you do not disturb. This is a very, very important thing that you need to remember. If you do not disturb the land, if there is a healthy soil, if you have a water, if you have a seed, nature itself come back. On the other hand, I also went to Germany to study in the forest. German forest very different. Germany, they plant trees. Nature, they create the nature. So I was very astonished by the German forest that the acorn of the oak, they plant acorn 5 centimeter distances, 5 centimeter, to produce an oak trees, oak forest, hoping that some of the seedling strong enough, and then they let them compete, and then create the forest. And so they also mix with the oak tree with the other coniferous and the other trees to create the forest. If you hear the Black Forest in Germany, you think that that's the primary forest, the natural forest. It's not. It was planted. The old time, farmers didn't have the fertilizer, so they went inside the forest, they collected the fumes, and they applied those fumes into their agricultural land. By doing it, they started destroying the ecosystem of forest. And they cut trees and then destroy the oak forest. Then, realizing that it is not good, so then the farmers or the people started planting trees. Now, if you talk about the restoration, there are two ways of doing it. One, just let the nature to recover. If you have a time, if you have an area, And if you have the large land in the United States, you can just let the nature to take care of it. It can come back, but it's long period of time. But if you want short term, if you want to do the pretty good sort of the restoration in a short period of time, you go for the planting. But an important thing in the planting is that, and even in the leaving the natures to deal with the land, the important thing is how to deal with the communities. In case of India, more than 30% of land is degraded, according to the FAO figure. Now, if you plant trees, and then we see that the cows are roaming around, you see the goats and the sheep are roaming around, this is a unique country. Only the world, India is the only one country that you see so many cows on the street. And even in if you plant trees, the cow may browse it and destroy those seedlings. So you need to think about to restore, how to deal with those people, animal, and then the competition with the other land uses. So these are the things that we need to be mindful.
It sounds like you're describing a third way, which only exists in India, which actually leads me to my next question. So if it's not necessarily the American way, which is let nature come back and thrive after we've destroyed it all, and if it's not, Europe in terms of more manicured plantations, what is that aspiration from your global perspective that India should have?
Yes. I think India, this is a turning point to my mind. I've been traveling all over the world, including South America. I live in Panama for 4 years, traveling the South America around the globe. I also visited in Africa. And then fast growth of the Asia. India is now fourth in the GDP. And then Prime Minister Mr. Modi is pushing the Make in India. What I said the turning point is that India will probably follow the path of East Asian or European type of the path. What I mean to say is that the people start migrating to the cities, and then aging will start. Even I was surprised to see that the farming communities are aging in India. Young people do not want to have an agriculture. So over the period of time, probably, to my mind, India will face the labor shortage in agriculture in long period of time, probably 50 years from now on. By the time the people will migrate to the cities, and those rural areas maybe be abandoned. And the most likely those areas will probably come back. Now, the problem of the India, or what I see around this many parts of the degraded area, is that you have invasive species like lantana and prosopis. If you just let the nature to deal with the degraded area, most likely lantana or the prosopis will start grow, and they sort of compete to let the other species not to grow. So I believe if you want to have the real restoration in India on the degraded area, we need to work with the people to design in a way that the restoration of native species or the other useful species to restore on the degraded land. And this is very important. Otherwise, if you just let the nature grow, I am sure that there are so many lantana in the post office. And then, but the forest department is doing great job within the sort of their own land area. When I visited the Rajiji or the Corbett National Park or the Orissa or the other part of the world, the part of the India, those forests are pretty much protected by the forest department. So I really need to think about how you want to mimic the natural ecosystem to grow, what sort of forest you want to have to restore the land. So this is what I can say. We are trying to do, for example, in an FAO, we are developing a concept with the livestock department, actually, the Ministry of the Animal Husbandry and the Dairying, that people need more fodder. And then just let the cow on the street or let the cow on the in the Grand Panchayat revenue land. And then those cows and then small animals are browsing the leaves or the grasses. If we keep doing it, the land will not come back. And then if lantana grow, the cows are not interested in eating the lantana. So what we are trying to do is, okay, we will intercrop with the nature tree species and then surrounded with the Napier grass, for example. Then grow the fodder so that let the people to grow the fodder. Meanwhile, the plants will be protected by the people or Napier grasses so that those plants can grow slowly because it's native species. And then eventually we can see that those trees can grow with the protection of people and the Napier grasses. So, for example.
It's a great example. And I think your point on forest, the preservation or protection of forests in this country is a very important one. But as you described, and again, as the minister mentioned in his speech, we also need to think of models in which we integrate people into these ecosystems. Degraded land can't sort of keep them out, and we shouldn't be thinking about it from that perspective. I wonder, have you seen examples globally and in India where you're seeing the scale of restoration match the pace required? Is that giving you optimism?
Yes. You see, the Kenya, I was working in the Kenya. And then what we did was the forest outside of the forest. Meaning farmers, they have main agriculture land, say this is agricultural land, but also they have a household, the houses. And even small patches of land, they are not utilizing it. And we are encouraging the farmers, okay, we give you the knowledge of how to grow the trees on the outside of the agricultural land. So we started planting the trees with the Kenyan farmers, putting the the seedling outside the forest, but outside of the agriculture. And then start growing the trees outside. Gradually, people think that, oh, this is a good thing. And then start planting the trees and bit by bit. And then we also introduced developing the community-based nursery or small nurseries. So we introduced the knowledge of the small nurseries. And then people start doing the business of selling the seedlings. And then they started, okay, let me do the grafting. So then they started getting the Zion from the mango trees or some other trees, and then grafted and then selling the mango trees. And they make an income. In order to entertain the farmer about the nurseries, I often use the papaya. I bought the papaya, one big of the papaya. If you open it, you see so many seeds. Then you dry it immediately, and you wash it again. Then those papaya, you plant immediately. Within the 6 months, you will see the papaya growing this much. And within the 1 year, the papaya can start growing the fruit. And showing that, small thing like that, I get the papaya free of charge. And then people start interested in growing the small nursery and then doing the business. So Kenya is one example that encourage the people that plant tree outside of the forest, but also the outside of the agricultural land. And then utilizing the marginal land, gradually those marginal land will start growing the different type of tree species. And that is what we can do here in India. And we are trying to do that too.
No, that's a fascinating example, actually. And before I throw it open to the audience for their questions, I did want to ask you one last question. We have a room full of funders, policymakers, community leaders. If you had to incentivize them towards one big, bold, ambitious, climate action for restoration, what would that be?
Okay. The climate change is very, very important element. It's a you need to differentiate climate and the weather. Okay. The climate, for example, climate here or the Orissa, climate in the Rajasthan, climate in the Chhattisgarh are different from the climate in the let's say, Tamil Nadu. Depending on the climate, the weather condition is created. And then often you say that a typhoon is a climate change, or the hurricane is a climate change. No, it's a climate event. Okay, so climate itself is, according to the data, the temperatures goes up. And when the temperatures goes up, the physics of the atmosphere and then the airflow and then circulation of the water, everything starts changing. It's a physics. So the fundamental changes and then things will change. Now, according to our data, we see that the rainfall will continue to fall even after Kharif season ends. That means farmer harvest the rice, for example, normally they dry it on the street or someone else, but because of the heavy rain after Kharif season ends, farmers cannot dry it. And those rice harvested destroyed. So that's the big risk you have in front of you. And then we are saying that, okay, any investment you make, stock market, or the buying gold, buying the land, or anything else, you need to diversify your asset to hedge the risk. So we are also saying to the farmers, don't count on only rice. Diversify. And then if you plant an agroforestry crop usually compared to the rice or some other vegetables or some other crops, they may be resilient compared to the agricultural crop. Because it's a tree-based, they have tap root system is very deep, so they may be more resilient compared to the agricultural crop. So we are encouraging the farmers to plant more agroforestry type of trees, but at the same time grow or raise the livestock, so that they don't count on one single income source, diversify, and the tree is a part of the diversification.
I love it. That's your formula for resilience. Okay, we're going to open it up to the room. Any questions, please feel free to step forward. I have a lot of questions for you. So if no one else does, I will happily come back. But, oh, we have one here.
Good evening,
Can
sir.
you introduce yourself as well, please?
Myself, Harit Bharat, and I have come from Jamia Millia Islamia. Sir, first of all, I would like to thank you for the insightful messages that you have given me. And I would like to ask you a simple question that how does United Nations ensure that colossal scale of global restoration economy does not inadvertently lead to the disenfranchisement or displacement of the indigenous people? As can be witnessed from the fact that 25% of the indigenous people reside across the world, yet they are being disenfranchised. So how do you address it? Thank you so much.
This is a very important question in India. And tribal community in the forest area. I also visited in the forest area in the Chhattisgarh, and then also Orissa, and also the I forgot the neighboring state anyway. At the time, toward the around the 2005 or 6, I went to the forest area near the Chhattisgarh. We were stopped because of the exile situation. And then the important thing is that, to my mind, they are not the part of the larger society of economic development. Sometimes they feel that they are neglected and that they are left behind from the sort of the fruit of the development. But also, I understand the government of India is really trying to address these issues to connect those people within the forest and provide the many benefit to those communities. And I think we really need to encourage these people to sort of don't go against it. You know, I understand, for example, the Maoism in the Nepal, the Maoism in the other countries. So then I think the integration in the larger societies, while respecting those indigenous communities, is very important. But at the same time, we also need to inform them the meaning of the development to them. I understand that some of the indigenous people do not wish to be a part of the larger development. So I think we need to inform them and then let them to decide. But at the same time, if we are able to, or if the government can offer the wide range of the support to them, and they may come forward better. That was my feeling. And then I'm not the expert of the indigenous people, so my answer may not resonate to your question. But I think giving a chance, embrace them as a part of the larger society, and this is very important. And I think Indian history, looking at how Sikkim or the other part of the Tibetan societies were embraced by the government of India. So India is sort of the country can embrace compared to the other countries. And I counting on the those sort of the best wishes and the willingness to embrace those people and those different communities. That's the beauty of the India. So I hope that India will continue to have this value for the future.
Thank you for saying that. We have a lady there at the back, and then behind her, Arjun.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm Akriti Vanchu from Mayura Ecological Solutions. My question was that, FAO's main mandate is, of course, ensuring food and nutritional security, which, being such an old organization, how you achieve that has possibly changed over time. Can you talk a little bit about how you now look at this in view of climate change, in view of nature degradation, how expansion of agriculture landscapes is one of the biggest drivers of biodiversity loss right now. So how do we now look at this idea of food and nutritional security while we are able to still preserve our biodiversity, preserve our forests?
The good question. The time is up in front of me, so I don't know that.
We'll finish with Arjun's question
Yes.
and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was very surprised when I went to the Uttarakhand and talking to the farmers there, even the farmers in Orissa. The wildlife and the human-wildlife conflict are really huge in those places, meaning the population of the wildlife is coming back very strongly. And even the farmers are afraid of going out with the small ruminant to let them nibble those grasses, because leopard is hiding underneath of the lantana. Meaning also we have promoted the fencing of the agricultural land, because they are saying that the wild boar is really destroying their food. So the wildlife is coming back in India. Compared to the other countries, the population of tigers, population of elephants, population of other sort of the wildlife are really, really coming back. And this is very unique and only in India. Maybe in Japan, for example, and we are suffering from so many population of the bears now. But in Japan, they are killing the bears. On the other hand, here, because of the strong protection of wildlife, even the wild boar, farmers cannot kill. Then many farmers are suffering from the wildlife conflict, and that their food is destroyed. So we need to take care of the wildlife and the human conflict on the one hand, and also the government of Orissa, for example, they are trying to preserve the different variety of rice, or the different variety of vegetable, brinjals, different variety of the peas, different variety of many things, by developing the community-based seed storage system, land leases. So this type of the program is very important for the future, and then diversify, and then provide the opportunities for the community to preserve different type of the variety. And then the government of India is doing so, and then we are giving the little small type of the project to the government of India to promote that. So that's sort of the things in terms of the biodiversity, I think we can do more with the government of India.
Thank you. And last question for the day. I'm going to request that we keep this short, but over to you.
Yep, this is great. So thank you so much for this discussion. It's been really insightful to hear you talk about the different kind of projects and different kind of interventions that you've come across. And I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more on this. Currently, one of India's missions right now is to focus on Viksit Bharat, so just being a developed economy by 2047, and that's where we are running to, and that's where we are going. But often, when we think about development, it also comes at the cost of ecology, culture, and it also kind of creates this homogenization of what development could mean. What I'm curious about is, are there examples of of places that are developing or developed, where we are looking at, where ecology is not being compromised on, where restoration is coming along and taking the economy forward as well. And at the same time, people and biodiversity are flourishing together. So are there bright spots or examples that you may have come across which can give us examples to look forward to as a possible direction when we embrace this mission towards a Viksit Bharat?
Okay. I expect India to be the leading. Okay. If you look at the other part of the world, they have different development path. Every country is very unique. If you visit the US has its own way. England has their own way. Japan has a different way. And India is unique. There is no other country like India. And I'm so pleased, often the case, that the Indian ladies, they wear always traditional dresses. If you visit in Japan or if you visit in the US or Europe, they abandon their traditional dresses. What I'm trying to say is that the culture, the development path, and those, the future, it's really depending on the people's choice. And I hope that the India, Mr. Putin is here today in India. And can you imagine that what is happening, what would happen in the news in the US or news in Japan, news in some other part of the world, looking at Mr. Putin is visiting one of the largest economy in the world, India, and one of the largest sort of the leading country, very powerful country in the world, and Mr. Putin is visiting in India. I don't think that Japan has a gut to invite Mr. Putin, but India does. No other country had the guts to invite Mr. Putin to their own land. But India, it's unique. And I hope that maintain that uniqueness and then go your own your own path. You don't need to choose, you don't need to mimic the other countries. India is India. Why do you need to follow the other country's path? But I am sure that India will develop and then change the society gradually. But I really hope that India maintain your culture and then maintain the uniqueness. That's what I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's actually a beautiful note to end on. India is unique. I think the last 2 days have definitely proved that. But I also want to point out one very important thing that you have hit on as we close. And again, Minister, coming back to you, because I think you made a beautiful case for this in your speech as well, is that the pace of nature may be slow, but its direction is towards renewal. Whether it's green returning to bare land, whether it's water finding its own path, it's always towards life rebuilding itself. And we need to meet that natural instinct for renewal with human intention. We have to meet it with collaboration, with care, with resources. And hopefully every single one of you in this room, there are multiple levers represented here, whether you're funders, policymakers, innovators, community leaders. I think if we can bring these levers together, there is real opportunity to move landscapes and shift in the direction of real meaningful change in a way that only India can. So on that note, thank you so much. Thank you so much again for your time. And thank you to the WRI team, to TRI for an amazing 2 days, and to all of you for attending. Thank you.